Perfect. How do I share it? Okay, there we go. It's me. Highlight. Huh. Okay, there we go. Great, alright, let's get started. So, yesterday I spent a bunch of time building this breadcrumb, and then today I want to do the button. And one thing that's with the button is that I wanted to match the appearances that we already have. I'm not sure if we'll exactly match it because some of these colors for alert are meant to be not attention grabbing, whereas with the button it's a call to action, so it should be darker. To compare it, I'm going to show you what Bootstrap does. So yeah, these are the alerts, and let's pull this out. This is what the button looks like, right? So you see that the theme is similar, right? You got your primaries and success and danger, but the colors are different, right? These are darker because it's a call to action, so you want it to be more bright, I guess, or higher contrast, whereas with the alert it should kind of sit in the background and not attract too much attention. But the thing I want to do is I want to keep the appearance same because warning, error, info, these kind of sound like good names. I'm not too sure about info because that's probably the blue. I don't know. We'll figure out the naming in a second. Cool. So first, where is alert? I'm going to duplicate alert because that's the closest, and I'm going to rename some button. Alright, and I've talked about this before that I like to start with the documentation because it helps me kind of put something on the screen and then I can tweak it. So, button. Cool. Let's go to button. Oh, I'm actually not running the docs. Sorry if I sound a bit jaded. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. You can probably hear it in my voice. Okay, let's go. 3 seconds. Okay, 1, 2, 3. No, it's on mine. I should really fix this. Okay, there we go. Great. So we have a button, which right now looks like an alert because that's what we copied. Okay, so I'm going to start renaming things here where I want the description is difficult. I'm going to just copy Bootstrap. Documentation, components, button. Use Bootstrap custom button styles for actions in forms. That makes sense. I'm actually going to see. I've probably written this before. Buttons are great to ask users for action. I mean, it's not wrong, but it's also not the best. It's kind of the same thing. Okay, never mind. Cool. So buttons are great to ask for actions. I'm gonna slightly change it and say use a button to ask the user for an action. Copywriting is hard. Okay. So this should be button, and I'm gonna rename this to click me. There are appearances, so depending on the context, it sounds perfect. I'm gonna change this to button. I actually want to change this part to be just click me for consistency now. Okay, that should do it. Okay, cool. So this only changes the example part, right? It doesn't really change the code, which is sitting inside button examples. So we can go to button examples, which imports a button, and simple button should just say click me, right? And this would probably break, so I'm not gonna save it. We haven't written the buttons yet, right? Cool. I'm just gonna take. Okay, I'm just gonna copy this and paste it here, and then do an appearance. Wait, didn't I just write this? There we go. I want info to be the first one. Maybe info success error range transparent. Transparent is not the best name, but it's because it's not even transparent, right? It has like some color here, so maybe I should call it something else. I'll need a button link eventually. Okay, button examples style. There we go. Okay, so now that we have our examples, let's actually build that button. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to delete everything and start from scratch here. And the first thing I do is like import React from React, and then you want to create this button component which takes some props and export default just like a simple button. And let's just return like a unstyled button right now. Pass it all the props. Cool, so that's like the MVP of buttons right here. Great. I should clear out the cache. Cool. So this is something I talked about on the first day, that I have like a caching problem here where with Gatsby MDX, when you change MDX, like when you create a new file, it doesn't necessarily clear out the cache. Sometimes you gotta restart it, or you've got to find a way to clear it. Okay, there we go. And it still renders the wrong thing. Okay, let's see. I get really annoyed by this. Oh, we're not actually exporting it, so it shouldn't work, but it works. Does it fix it, or do I have to clear my cache again? It doesn't automatically fix it. Okay, let's look at button MDX. What's in a button? This component does not exist yet. Okay, I kind of know what I'm doing wrong, and I keep missing this. So I have this one file where I import. So when you look at this, actually, one second. Yeah, so these are all the components that I import. So if I don't put it here, then it shouldn't really work. Alphabetical. Okay, I'm still not convinced yet. Let's check everything again. So I have a button component here. I use it inside the examples, button examples, where I import it like this. I'm just gonna console log the button here just to see if it's the right thing. There we go. Okay, there we go. So this is correct. Where is this coming from? Oh, I was working on something last night and forgot to delete it. There we go. Cool, so the button is the right component, which means this is correct, and then you export it, which is fine, and then you go to button MDX, and then you import it like this, which also seems fine. Alert MDX. Yeah, this is kind of what I do. And just to make sure I'm exporting it the same way. Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Cache, no cache. Cache. Alright, let's see. I'm gonna delete this because it's probably fake. DSX index. Yeah, this thing is. Let's see, 2 seconds, 1 second. Minus 10 seconds. Oh god, okay. Okay, so I'm clearly doing something wrong. But I don't know what. This is what happens when I create my own tooling. It's like I make a bug and I spend all my time debugging the bug than building the actual thing I'm supposed to build. This seems correct. Okay, let's compare it to what we did yesterday. Say imported, you have an example wrapper. Then you create your examples and then you export default the object. Looks, this matches. Breadcrumb MDX, we import it. Reactron source. Button MDX is from Reactron source button, which looks fine. Oh god, okay. I'm using the wrong thing. Let me change it in alert MDX as well, because this is where all the bugs are actually coming from. This should be alert examples, and then so right now what happens is like all of the MDX namespace gets merged. I'm not sure if it's like an MDX implementation detail or if it's just the way I have integrated it, but anything that is imported here gets into global scope. So if I have example, that's what's everywhere. Great, so now button is here. Wow, that took a while. Okay, now finally let's build a button. Cool. So next step, I'm gonna import the element that I created. So yesterday I was talking about how I should probably create like a base element or a base component. So I went ahead and did that, and it's element, right? And what it does is like it imports system props, and by default it gives you a div, and you have to kind of figure out what you want. So you say element, and then you say as a button, right? So this is kind of a base element, you're using it, and I pass all the system props, and system props is what we were using yesterday with like background, border, color, display, like all of the child system properties. I've just composed them and put them in one. So this kind of gives us like all of the styles are here. It also does mean that this button is like you can add anything to it, which is a good thing for development, but a bad thing when we kind of ship this in the end. So we will come back and narrow that range later. But for now, this is cool. So, and the other thing we want is we want like color styles on this. So I can actually just say the appearance that we get, right? This is gonna define the background and stuff. So let me define the default appearance. Default types. Appearance is, I want to say info. Okay, that's cool. And now the same way we did with alert, we basically did colors, right? And then we took it from prop appearance, and this it's coming from color styles. So warning has its own color styles, error has its own color styles, etc. Right? There's like a whole series of these. Okay, so now you see that all of these are colored except the transparent one because I don't know, that's not a thing yet. Oh, it's not even called transparent, it's supposed to be called light, which is also, I don't know, I'm not a fan of the name. Light. Great. Okay, so now that we have these, right, these look ugly, but we have the right colors on them. And this should go to appearance is info, right? Great. So I'm going to change the default in the examples to appearance info for now. I just want to style it first and then come back to the API. Button appearance. Okay, that works. Is info. Perfect. This is something wrong, right? What is it? What is the actual syntax? It's default props. Okay, there we go. Whoa, broke something. Cannot read property. Alright, so we haven't defined the prop types, so we're going to do that. Button prop types, and these are actually just the same as the alert prop types. So appearance is these, and then we want prop types from the package. Great, okay, that should work. Great, so we have this prop table, we have the example, and now we're gonna fix this or style this properly. So I'm gonna reorder a little. Colors as button. Nice. Alright, so this thing needs a bunch of padding, right? And I'm gonna just like open the scales here. So padding come from the scale that we've defined, space. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. It's like an array. So when I say padding 2, I'm actually using the second thing on the list. Cool. So this is better. We want the font to match the parent font, right? Which we haven't really done here yet. Okay. I'm going to define font family. Okay, let's check out what the theme API says. Fonts. Okay, should be called fonts, and then I'm just going to use the system UI by default, and then monospace for the secondary one. Actually, I'm not sure if I like that. Maybe I should name them differently. Okay, they don't have a font example here. Font sizes. Fonts. Okay, so let's stick to this for now. Even though I'm not a fan of this, I actually kind of want to do something like fonts. Let's do like body. Oh, we don't need this. Body is system UI, and code is monospace. Right, and I don't know which one. I'm gonna go with like Menlo for now, and it fallbacks to this. Okay, system UI should fall back to sans serif. Great. So now I can say use the font. Okay, let's go back to the documentation, style system, API, typography, font family. Okay, perfect. So font family is body, right? And that should pick up this one. I'm sure it didn't. Let's see. Font family. Oh, it actually just says body. That's not right. Should I say fonts.body? Shouldn't, right? Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm not defining the fonts right. What? Okay. Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. Cool. Where can we go to find that out? I'm sure there's like a default theme somewhere. Default values. Do fonts get default values? They don't. So, like the obvious thing could be like we could just put it on the body, entire body. I'm trying not to do that because when you put this button inside like this component library should not override your global styles, right? So that's why right now I have 0 global styles. I don't put anything on the body or like on abstract tags like button, right? Like it's very easy to introduce something like this where I can just like drop styles over here and insert this in the body, insert it on the page, the root scope. But I don't want to do that because it will also interfere with what's already on the page, right? So if you're just adding this library, you don't want it to change everything that already exists on your page. Oh. So that's kind of the reason to do it here. I probably should just do something like inherit here, right? If I am saying it should pick up from the parent, then maybe it should just inherit. And then my question is, doesn't it already inherit? So what am I even trying to do here? Okay, that was a weird flex. Didn't really need to do that. Okay, anywho. We want to change the font size though. So let's see. What is the computed font size? It's 11 pixels, right? Which comes from the what do you call it? The user agent style sheet, right? Like this is the native default. By default, buttons have this, which I don't like. I want to like bump it up. So I'm going to say font sizes. And then again, I have font sizes here and use base font size. So yeah, that kind of looks way. Oops, that's badge font size. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Alright, so breadcrumb. Let's check out what our breadcrumb sizes are, because I want all of these components to have like consistent styles. Okay, this span, what's the computed font size? It's 18 pixels, so that's perfect. Okay, great. So now when we look at this, I also wanted to have border radius, right? And then I'm gonna put this on the side. Pins. Right, and I have these radii. I'm gonna use 5, so 0, 1. Perfect, that looks great. Now I also want to get rid of this like gray ugly border thing. So now if I can just say border, can I just get away with saying border none? Yes, it doesn't really catch your attention necessarily that yet. So we've got color styles, which are these. I wonder if we should create another copy of these which are like darker, because you know this is like the light styles and like this backgroundish styles, and then you have the more darker styles. but the only other place where you use darker styles is another thing that I'm trying to do with this is in my tokens, I'm trying to create styles for each component. So it's like alert, badge, like all of them have styles here. So the styles I just wrote inside the button, I'm gonna extract them, the ones that should be themable outside, so that when you bring your own tokens, which is you bring your own theme, you can actually override these, right? So if you look at alert, it has this padding radius and what the close button is. So that kind of makes it more, like it makes it easier to play around with and like customize it. So let's see, components, I should export the button styles, button, there we go, this should be empty. And then inside the button, what we do is, let me show you what I did in the badge. So we import these as styles, right? And then we just pass them through, right? So it's like whatever you give is just gonna get passed through, right? Elements just before props, right? So then this entire thing becomes themable from inside the from like a tokens file. Cool. Should I just kill all of this? So this shouldn't change, but I think all of this can. Padding, font size. Actually, font size should also be the same as this, so I should just take this. Padding is 2, border radius is 1, and the border itself is none. Cool. So let's see what that does. Right, and you got these, right? Now the interesting, actually I want to change font size as well. Font size is base. Great. So one thing that happens here, which is interesting, is that now when you change the theme file, right, which is this, you can actually change the component itself. So you don't really have to dig into the component or clone it or like override it. You can just change the theme file, which to me sounds pretty neat. Okay, now I'll figure out, can we also change these? Okay, so we want to do colors. Actually, can I add color styles here? Color styles, and will is red. Whoa, I should import colors. Import colors from tokens. Okay. No. Colors from outside. Wait, where am I? Oh, we're here. We're gonna go to colors, and colors exports the colors. Colors, and then we can grab red of 1. Yeah, that should work. At least I think it should work. Colors dot red. No, it doesn't. Oh, 0. Can I read property of 1? Awesome. Console log colors. It's an object. Ooh, it's called reds. Sheesh. I'm going to change this to tokens. Guess I can't change it to tokens. Okay. So that didn't work, which is perfect. So now we know that color styles cannot be passed here. Now the next thing I want to check out is, can I make multiple it's like I have these color styles, but now I want like another set of color styles that kind of look the same. Let's see. API color styles. Okay, so this is the theme. This is like the big one. Color styles. Ooh, what is this? Buttons. Wait, is there like a button styles? There we go. That was easy. Okay, that's literally what we want. So, the authors of Style System, which is like Jackson and I'm sure there are other people, but I'm sorry, I don't know their names. I'm sure they work on a bunch of design systems, so they've already seen this thing where you will need different color styles for buttons. So they already baked that in, which is sweet. Cool, so we don't need this, which is awesome. And I can kill this, color styles, and then in my tokens index, I can import button styles. Button styles, there you go. And the place where I set color styles, I'm going to set button styles. Sweet. Okay, now the question is, do colors automatically get that thing? Because button style, there we go. So if you want to use color style, use colors. If you want to use button style, use variant property. Okay, that's useful. So instead of colors, I want to use variant, and then I can finally start customizing my button styles. So, whoa, I broke it. Variant is okay, but which is a good thing. That means something happened. Variant is primary, and that's based on the button styles. Wait, are button styles called button styles? No, they're called buttons. What? Why would you not make them consistent? The text styles, color styles, and button. Okay, I want to say that's not the problem. Buttons. Huh. That's awkwardly inconsistent. Okay, but we'll kind of go with it, I guess. Maybe I'll go back and create like a pull request for that. Let's see what the authors think. Cool. So now let's start making this darker. This is my favorite part because it's like design, pseudo design. Let me open up my colors on the right. Developer split right. Perfect. Where are my blues? These are my blues. And let me go to button styles. Oh, god damn it. Split right. Sweet. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to make all of these darker. So the background color on this one. Okay, but we're starting with info. So I'm going to replace these a little. There's info and success up first. Info and success. Great. So info, I want it to be, so when you go darker, you can like go 8, which is like one shade darker, or 9, which is like the darkest blue possible. Probably don't want 9. Of course, it didn't even work. Oh wait, that's not 9, that's 8. This is the darkest, I guess. 8. Wait, what? No? Info. Ooh, okay. Did we fall back on the wrong thing? We're using button style, which is variant. Okay, what happens if I don't include it? Will this even break? Tokens index. So if it's using this, then if I delete it, it should break. Which it... Okay, it did. So, cool. That means using this, the only weirdness is that is it using the right names? Okay, let's see. So variant can be primary, and then buttons. This is how you define them. I don't have primary, I have an info, which is what I'm defining. So that's cool. This is also fine. Oh shit, I'm modifying color and expecting this to change. Okay, modify the background color. God damn it. 7. Right, there we go. That's dark. We don't want this dark. We want to go with 5. And I'm gonna make the blues just like zeros to get the lightest one. And yeah, this looks pretty dope. This is cool. I'm gonna just try another variant, like slightly less dark with 4. Yeah, that's too light. I'm gonna go with 5. So when you look at like color styles, we had the opposite, right? We're using the lightest colors. So we're using the lightest blue here. We kind of want to flip that and use like the darkest one with the lightest text. So it's almost like we flip them, but not like mathematically. Just like that's the idea of it. Cool. Success. We want a super dark green. I'm gonna try to make it consistent and use 5. So what happens if we use both same? Oh, we don't need this, which is awesome. My warnings have button styles, which sounds like a bad idea. I don't know what I'm doing here, or what I was doing in alert, but we can check that. Okay, so success should be greens 5. There we go. Actually, I'm just gonna copy this, and then we'll tweak them. This is another thing that I kind of have learned over the years, which is like consistency has its place, but design is not like I know we'll have to complain that designers don't like intentionally make it not consistent, but making consistent design is hard. What is mathematically consistent might not always look good to the user at all. Like it might not work because colors don't work the same way. Like if you look at these reds, the red get darker on the color palette, I guess, faster than the yellows, right? The yellows are traditionally not like that, and even when they get dark, they kind of, unless you switch their I'm gonna say not the saturation but the hue, unless you switch the hue more towards like this golden side, they're just gonna look weird and ugly. So yeah, it's never like a it's never that simple. So this is perfect, right? Now we have all of these, and you can already see that the blue, where is it? Blue 5 has nice contrast, but green doesn't. So we're gonna make this green 6. Same goes with yellows. I'm sure we have to bump it a lot. The red looks perfect. The gray kind of looks bad. We're gonna bump that to 7 as well. 7 is pretty down there. Okay. There we go. That looks nice. And I'm just gonna check the contrast on each one of these because accessibility is important, kids. Color, yeah, so this sucks. This is not accessible. What happens if I make it white? Yeah, literally nothing happens. So that's terrible. So we should probably make this blue 6. Okay, so that's a lot darker. It's not like the prettiest, but like really accessibility is more important than. Jeez, okay, it's still not there. Okay, this is kind of really dark, so we're gonna try go to bump it to 7. This is gonna be like a little too dark, honestly. Yikes, I don't like that. Yes, this is accessible, but it's kind of too much. I'm gonna check how Bootstrap gets away. Documentation, components, buttons. Yeah, so they have like a pretty light-ish color. And let's see their accessibility. Yeah, so they don't actually do a double A. That's triple A. Sorry, what they actually get. Okay, 1 tick means double A. Okay, so maybe we should also be satisfied with double A. This is conflicting. Wait, what am I changing? This is not the right thing. This one, hover styles, background color styles, okay. Right, this is probably a lot more consistent. No, this is still not consistent. Oh, accessible, yeah. So this gets double A, great. So in our case, if we don't want a double A and we kind of only want like one tick, which is, sorry, if we want double A and not triple A, right, that's kind of where we are. So this is cool. Okay, I guess we'll also settle for double A instead of a triple A. Right, this gets us 1, and if we switch it to 5, that's gonna be too light, I think. I really like how this looks right now. Yeah, but this like literally gets no accessibility points. So okay, we're changing between 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's between these two colors, which honestly don't look that different. Okay, so we're gonna stick with 6 then. On to the next one. So this one looks good. This is also probably not accessible. Wait, did it just show me on hover? No. Oh, but we have this tab. I've never actually used the accessibility tab. I don't really know what it does. Accessibility. Whoa, it gives you the accessibility tree. That's amazing. ARIA attributes, computed properties. Okay, but not the color. Okay. Yeah, this is not accessible even if we bump it to like white. Actually, we should just use white in all of these instead of using the lightest shade. So this, how do I capture this? Okay, so 0 guys should become colors dot white. Wow, I screwed it up, didn't I? Colors dot white. Alright, awesome. And then green 6 is not gonna work, as well learned. We're gonna bump it to green 7, which is, yeah, I feel like there's not a lot of contrast shift here. Like I've really put them on the lighter side. Actually, you can also see here for estimates on like this is definitely not accessible, but these two are on almost there. I wonder if there's like a VS Code and like an Atom plugin that already tells you that. Cool, we got one tick, which is double A. This is gonna be tough. So yellow is a really difficult color to work with. We have this one right now, which is also not enough. And I'm sure if we make it the next one, it's gonna be plain ugly. Let's see. Yeah, I hate this. Bootstrap. Oh, that's that's interesting. They just flipped the color over here, which is super smart. And this is really cool because you see the only color that has, like only button which has dark color is the yellow. Everything else has white. This one has dark. And that's because it's really difficult to make like a dark yellow that doesn't look straight up ugly like this. I don't know how I feel about having a button, like you'll have all your buttons next to each other and one of them has like the text which is the opposite. I guess it makes sense if you use this in isolation, but not really otherwise. Okay, let's see what we did in Cosmos. I'm not sure we had like a yellow button. Maybe we did. Button styles. Yeah, we didn't have a yellow. I'm tempted to kind of just do what these folks did. So I'll use like the darkest gray and like a 6, I guess, maybe even a 5. Yeah, this looks better. I'm gonna bump this down. Okay. Let's see. So, oops. Yeah, you can see we get a double, right? Of course we do. Okay. So this is cool. Next up, let's look at this red. I'm sure this is accessible because it's like a really dark red. And this one is also accessible. Great. It's actually a double. I wonder if we can like make it not double and get some like slightly prettier dark. Yeah, I don't really know if this looks better or worse. Yeah, we lose all accessibility, so let's keep it. Great, so we have all of these now, and one thing that I really want my buttons to do is have like a link one, right? And we talked about this earlier where it's like sometimes you need a button which doesn't really look like a button, it looks like it's a link, right? Because it's like if you have a form, you have like a submit button which looks like this, and then you have a clear button, and the clear button basically just does have, like it's just text. But you don't want to use link over there because that's semantically wrong. It's still a button. So you kind of need like a button click. And by semantically wrong, I don't mean to be like the semantic police. It's more from an accessibility standpoint. Because if you use an anchor tag, then you have to give it a role button. You have to figure out like how to give it the right text. You have to give it the right focus trap. It's probably not worth it, right? So we're gonna add a link style, which has no background. So it's transparent and it's it's colors dot. I don't want to say blues something. I wanted to say colors dot link. Right, so we should probably create an alias over here. Colors.link is colors.blues. Let's see, I'm gonna go with this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish. 5 or 6, it's gonna be one of those. Right. So we get this. Alright, I don't really have an example for that, so let me add that. Let's go to button examples and add this one. It's the last button. Okay, the funny thing is my light button is anything but light, so we should probably change that style as well. This should be link first. Right, so that's cool. And let me also add it to the MDX file, button.mdx. Yep, link. Sweet. Button index. I'm gonna add link. Okay, another thing with buttons is that you probably don't want this button. You probably want like a grayish button by default, right? So I'm actually gonna make this the default, right? And then the default is just called the default, and you never really say default, it's just inherent, so you never have to actually type this out. And then let's actually try to make it look more default grayish. So let's see. Yeah, this should not be called light, this should be called default, and it should be at the very top. And we can actually get rid of the appearance then. That's perfect. And then get rid of the appearance here. Cool, so this is the default one. In button styles, we should rename this as default. I don't know if naming it default is gonna cause any problems. We'll find out. Okay. Oh, it actually works. This is the default. I want it to be like the darkest of grays, which I should just probably start calling black, right? So black is colors.grays of 8, right? So now I can just say black, which is also probably probably a bad idea because one, I'm lying. It's not actually a black. It's like some shade. But at the same time, I probably should say text style here, right? Instead of background, instead of grays. But we can come back to that. Cool. So now we also want it to be lighter. Something around here. So let's go with 6. Yeah, another interesting thing, like why doing colors mathematically is difficult, is because look at how these greens get darker. Compare that to how these reds get darker. And then look at the grays, right? Like gray inherently like starts at like the whitish thing and goes to black, and unless you're like being very aggressive, it doesn't really translate that well, right? So either you got to switch the scale up, where you move like everything to the right, or you basically follow this and then always pick really dark colors. Cool. So 6 is too much. I'm gonna go with 5. And if you want to see like how my colors are like actually written, or how did I actually come up with these colors, I use Figma. You can obviously do it with any tool that you want, like just do it with CSS. And there I kind of created like a palette for myself. This is nice. Maybe even lighter. Gray is 4. Live streaming takes up all my bandwidth, so meh, this doesn't work as nice. Okay, Figma is literally killing my process. Everything's suddenly slow. Oh, there you go, finally. Yeah, so this is kind of how I built these. Let me hide the things, right? And these are like my grays, right? So if I want, and you can see like the progression of these, right? Like they start, if you start looking from here, this gets darker faster than this, right? Like if you compare 600s, this is really more dark. Like the blue and red are the extremes and the gray is kind of still light. So if I want to change that, I can of course like just start creating these styles and then like just push them slightly over the edge, right? Like I can, which one should I change here? You can go slightly on this side, and that would kind of give you something nicer. So I don't really do that because with grays you actually need more light shades over here because you're going to do a lot of background stuff, right? So like if you have the body background, you probably want this color. If you have like a alert, which is you probably want something like here. And if you want like a darker thing which wants to grab attention, you probably need 5 or 6, like something on this scale, right? So which is what our light button needs. So I'm on 4 here, and this kind of looks nice. I like 4. Cool. What I don't like is the font size to padding ratio. I might just increase the padding a little bit. So I go to tokens, button, and I should make it button X should be more, right? And button Y, which is like the Y, that looks nice. That can stay. Yeah, this is very better. Sweet. I really like these. I got my link, which is perfect. Probably gonna add more margin here. Button examples. Yeah, I'm gonna change this to just margin. Because I'm gonna do like a bunch of responsive styles, and then with responsive, yeah, you want it to like look like a nice grid. Nice. Okay. That looks pretty cool. Let's actually control this a little more, where I only want 4 of them to show. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just gonna like drop a BR tag here so that the rest of them always go on to the next line. Cool. Okay, let's see what time we got. Okay, it's 11, so we've kind of done our hour. And our buttons look, yeah, they look nice. They look pretty decent. I'm not a big fan of the colors I have right now. Like, I'm also not a fan of how Bootstrap flat colors look like. Like, this is too light, and this is probably too dark. So I think the last thing I'm gonna do is make this lighter. Go with some like 3. Yeah, this looks nice. I think 2 will be a stretch. Like this. How about, can we go crazy and go on 1? This is, I don't know. So without borders, it kind of looks strange, but I guess this looks fine. Alright, so I'm going to close here. We have our button. Tomorrow we'll do the button group and maybe like a card. Font size, let's make it 18 pixels. There we go. So the entire package is split into these 3 things. Art is just like the logo. Ignore that. So there's DSX, which is the tooling part of it, which is this documentation thing. We can start there, but it's basically a Gatsby app where I'm reading all of the components and then doing like a React docgen and then creating the sidebar. Like all of the documentation things are happening here, right? This is where all the MDX parsing and all that happens. But that's just the tooling bit, right? The actual components sit in this thing called Reactron. I'm calling it Reactron because I couldn't think of a better name, so subject to change. But so this is Reactron, and inside this I have these guides, which are these. And the docs part automatically picks up if you call them guides, and then you have source, which has all the components. So let's look at the breadcrumb component. Well, actually, let's look at the one we just built. So the button component has the index, has the documentation. I really like co-locating documentation inside the same place. So this is where this is what is generating these pages. But none of the tooling code is here, right? So the documentation piece is here, but the thing to render the documentation is in DSX, which I'm gonna like open source or something after I'm done. Yep, and then example. So there is something weird that I do, and I kind of do it intentionally, kind of, which is when you see this example, when I say JSX, it actually doesn't render it. Even though there is a way of rendering it, I can say something like React Live, and MDX has support of that. But I intentionally do not do this because I want the examples to live outside, right? And I do this because I want the same examples to be in Storybook eventually. I want these to use that for snapshot test and all of that. So I put them in a different file. And what else? Then, so these are the components. Then is the theme, right? And I'm calling, the theme is built of tokens. So for this, I'm using the system UI theme spec, right? So a bunch of really smart people, I'm going to look up the names. A bunch of really smart people came up with this theme spec, which Style System uses. So Style System is the library that I'm using to kind of build the props that you see. And so this is like really cool. It helps you get done really, really fast. And they came up with the theme spec and they're kind of using it in multiple projects now. So I think Rebase uses it, Theme UI uses it, and Style System, of course, uses it. I'm going to show you the people behind it. There There we go. So it's all three of these work on Gatsby themes now. So yeah, so I'm kind of reusing their spec definition because I don't want to invent my own. And then the other interesting thing that I'm doing is that I'm just like putting all my colors and passing it there. This color styles, button styles, and then this is not part of the theme spec. This is something that I'm kind of trying to introduce here, which is I'm putting all my component styles here, right? And in slightly like a weird way, this is not CSS. This is style system props. So it's the properties that the style system understands, and the benefit of that is that when I say font size 2, it doesn't mean 2 pixels. It means the font size from here, right? It means this font size. So that's kind of like a benefit of doing that. And I'm trying to make all of these here so that somebody can bring their own theme, right? So you'll essentially replace this with your own, and that will also change your components. So one of like the motivation of creating this project is that when I see a bunch of component libraries, a lot of them give you styles, but to customize them, you either have to override the props itself, or you have to extend it, right? Like the most common thing I see is like they say just extend our button, right? And then add your own styles, right? So for example, if you want to change the padding, you can do something like this, right? Like this is styled from like style components or emotion now. So which is fine, which makes sense, but then you're kind of taking what they have and then overriding everything, right? It's what we used to do with Bootstrap before themes. I'm not a big fan of that. I want to make something like way more customizable, which is kind of the goal here. Cool. I hope I answered some of your questions, if not all of the questions. This is wrong. This should be... I'm sorry, I keep seeing things and fixing them. Cool. Another interesting thing about this tokens part is that, as you see, this is not really tied to React, right? These are just specs. So you can actually take these into an Angular project and use them, right? Like there's nothing stopping you from making these the default. Another thing that I haven't done yet, which I want to play around with, is take this file, which are JavaScript objects, and convert them into CSS variables, so that I can also take them into projects that are CSS only, right? Like they're static, there's no React or JavaScript. And in that case, something like, I want to be able to do something like this. For example, let's take space, right? I want to change this to, like when you export this as a CSS variable, this should be space 0 or space 4 or space 8, right? So some name spacing over there. Cool. Yeah, so that's like the overview. Somik asks, I was watching the beginning of the first episode. I was really curious how you got to the initial setup, that is setting up the workspace. So, okay, that's kind of like a involved question. I don't really want to get into like the nitty gritty because it's not very interesting, to be honest. But what I'm doing is I'm using Yarn workspaces. That's like one part of it. And then in that you can create multiple packages which are not published yet and use them as a dependency with each other. So for example, inside the components folder, I have this thing called the example wrapper, in which I get the theme from tokens, right? I get the whole thing, and then I use it in the theme provider, right? And so this tokens is not actually published or the real thing. This is actually just from tokens from this folder, right? And that kind of lets you really rapidly develop while you're still building things. And then you can choose to like either publish them or never publish them. You can just keep them together, right? So it's like a good separation of concern without actually, like it lets you get the benefits of packages without actually making published packages, right? If you're curious, you're already on YouTube. So there is a video I built a while back. It's called Yarn Workspaces, I guess, or I think it's called ... hell. I'm just going to find it. I don't know what it's called. And that kind of gets into the detail of Yarn Workspaces and how you set something like this. Okay, I'm going to close this process to give me some more RAM. videos. It's oh god, okay. I'm sure it's in some of my playlist. It's in the daily clog thing I used to do. Please don't play it. Yeah, there we go. ... hell and yarn workspace. Alright, so I'm gonna push this. If you want to look at the repo, it's published on GitHub. It's at .kp/reactron, right? And then you can just like explore more. I'm gonna push all of this code, and then you can play around with it. Cool. I'm gonna stop here. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you tomorrow, where we build button groups and I don't like cards, maybe inputs. Alright, ciao.